He looks the part of a young tourist in Europe. But 21-year-old Aroldis Chapman may soon be pitching in the major league.
Chapman hit 102 miles an hour.
#1 pitching prospect in the world.
They end up going down as being the best pitcher of all time in Cuba.
I want to be the best pitcher in the world. That's my objective.
The 6'4" Chapman is in Barcelona, Spain, working out in the Olympic Baseball Stadium. In March of last year, his native Cuba suspended him through the Summer Olympics in Beijing. Punishment for attempting to defect.
How was it that you tried to escape?
Some people I know came to see me. They wanted me to leave on a boat, and I accepted. I was at a house with several friends, and they caught us. And they took each one of us home.
What did you learn from that first attempt?
What I learned from that first time was that I shouldn't trust anyone.
Although a known flight risk, Chapman was reinstated to the national team in time for the World Baseball Classic in the U.S. this spring. For months, he waited for the right opportunity to again try to defect. Then on July 1st, Chapman and the national team arrived at this hotel in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. Chapman says this was his best chance because he had his passport.
When we arrive in a country, most of the time, they collect our passports over at the airport. If they don't, they will do so when we arrive at the hotel. But at that moment, I think that God helped me because they did not collect the passports.
With his passport, Chapman had proper identification to quickly establish residency outside of Cuba, the key to becoming a baseball free agent. But first, he had to weigh the risk.
I was very nervous about the decision I was about to make. We were in the lobby when we first got there. I then went to my room again, and I started to think about everything. My family, the people I left behind, my friends. I was thinking that I would never see them again. That's when I made up my mind. I didn't speak to anyone. I think that there was no one in the lobby, and everything was very calm. So when I went out, there was no one outside as well. That made it easy for me to leave the hotel.
What were you thinking during those moments?
Well, I thought at that moment that the Cuban security might get me, that they could get me at that moment. I could only think about that they could catch me trying to leave the team.
Were there ever any moments during that time when you had second thoughts about whether you wanted to do this?
I don't think so. I think I had my mind made up. I think that there was nothing that was going to change my mind.
Chapman says he fled in a car driven by a friend of a friend and remained in the Netherlands while his team competed nearby.
How many people knew about what you were going to do in Cuba?
No one in Cuba knew about it, only me. I didn't even mention it to my parents. And I think that everything came out very well because of that.
4 days after he fled, Chapman placed a call on a friend's suggestion to Edwin Mejia, a player agent in New York who had yet to sign his first big league prospect. They met secretly in Amsterdam. Then Mejia brought him to Barcelona on July 7th.
We didn't want him harassed. We didn't want, the poachers to be bothering him. We wanted to make sure he was adjusting and as happy as he could be, communicating with his family, dealing with the people he needed to deal with. He's a 1 in a 50, 100-year talent, so a lot of people think that or wish they could have him, and they're going to do everything possible, whether it's ethical or not, to try to get him.
So much now is new to Chapman. A life without his parents, his 2 sisters, and his girlfriend. And just before Chapman arrived in Europe, he received the news. He was a father for the first time.
I didn't feel very well because I became a father, and I could not be beside my wife to see that child be born.
Can you tell us when was it that you actually spoke to the mother of your child? You said that was the first conversation. When did that happen?
2 or 3 days after I abandoned the team, I called Cuba, and I spoke to her. What she thought was that she was never going to see me again. I told her not to worry, because she was going to see me again someday. And I think that she understood and calmed down.
How much did those factors in terms of your family and your upcoming child weigh into your mind when you thought about your future?
It helped me to become much more committed to the sport because I have a child that was about to be born. It gave me much more motivation and strength to play baseball. I miss them a great deal, but you have to know how to recover and move on. I took this step and had to move forward. I can't go back.
That was Jorge Arango reporting. Baseball experts believe Chapman will receive a major league contract for as much as $100 million. But until that happens, Chapman will continue to work out in isolation, waiting for the big payday. This has been ESPN's Outside the Lines on ABC News Now. Log on to abcnews.com for all your day's video. It's on demand whenever and wherever you want it. I'm Meg Oliver in New York. Thanks for watching.